Hey, this is Dave Yauk from jamplay.com, and I wanted to bring you a little taste of my upcoming live course on playing and singing together. Now, one thing we're going to look at in our live course is just a little bit about how to take simple rhythms, whether they be in your guitar or your voice, and put those together. The best way to do that is not only to take something that's loud and soft, but something that is different and unique from one another. So we're going to mess with stuff that's dynamic, loud and soft. We're going to mess with stuff that's different complements, mess with rhythm and sound and silence. The best way to do that is to start with something familiar. Many of you are going to know how to play just eighth notes. If you don't know what eighth notes are, it's basically just what you're doing whenever you're playing a down-up strum. Start with something familiar. Many of you are going to know a G chord. Let's just start with a G chord. Okay? Or an E minor chord or a D chord. Something that I am trusting most of you are going to know, or that it's fairly easy for you to execute right off the bat. And we just want to get an eighth note pattern going. And we're going to introduce what we call an accent to one of those notes. Let's say we're going to accent 1 and beat 3. So we're going to do 1, and how we count eighth notes is not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can, but they're counted 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Really what you want to focus on is how much you're emphasizing those loud notes, how underemphasize those unaccented notes, and we're going to work a lot in our series on how to actually get your strum to do that, to do it so it sounds beautiful and gentle instead of brash and harsh. But for right now, what we're going to do is just look at playing that accent. You can start it off on the downstroke, and you can switch it to the upstroke. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's the first way we mess with simple, just dynamics of playing. And this is important because you want to play and sing together, right? Playing and singing together is not just rudiments, it's not just fundamentals, it's based on the fundamentals, but you got to take it to a place of expressing it, be able to improvise and be able to be free to sing and play, and kind of the voice and guitar interact freely. To do that, we've got to come down to this rudiment level first and build up to it. The best way to do that then is to introduce places of silence into your rhythm playing. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now introduce, maybe drop out, let's drop out 2 and the and of 2. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now I'm going to drop out the end of 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now we've got an actual rhythm if you speed that up. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 4 and 1. Now you've got an actual combination that you can now take, move it to the more complex. Take that same rhythm, start moving around to those familiar chords, so the G, the E minor, the D, and now you've introduced something of some space and silence, and now you've introduced something that you can insert a voice into or on top of. So I'm not going to show you how to just take that and move it between chords. I'll leave that to you for now, but what we're going to do now is just take this G chord and put your voice over the top of it, just like you would if you were singing. And so we've got this combination. The first thing you can do is mimic that. Do 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 do. Experiment with what it is to mimic the voice to the guitar. Experiment with loud and softs in the voice. In this series, we'll also look how to engage your voice, make it stronger, some of those techniques. And then slowly start to experiment with throwing the voice where you leave holes in the guitar. So if we left a hole on 2 and the and of 3, let's start with 2 and, then we insert the voice. Do, do, la, la, ha, ha. I can experiment with different sounds, but now we're starting the beginnings of making an actual polyrhythm. We can take out the end of 3 now. Ha, 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 ha. And what's happening is there's an interaction and interweaving of the voice and the guitar. So as we go through this series, you're going to see that playing and singing is really as simple as polyrhythms and learning how to think of things not as separate things, but as interlocking things that come together and make one harmonizing rhythm. So stay tuned for my live series, and we're going to take this and we're going to break it down to the basic level, and we're going to take it up to a place where you can get those songs accomplished that you've always wanted to learn.